Have you ever thought what lies behind the surface of a picture-perfect family? The Chris Watts family murders expose a horrible truth that stunned the nation. In August 2018, the peaceful community of Frederick, Colorado, was thrown upside down when Shanann Watts, 15 weeks pregnant, and her two girls, Bella and Celeste, vanished. What followed was a clarifying investigation involving over 200 law enforcement personnel, costing more than $1 million, and many hours of forensic work. This isn't just a tale to satisfy curiosity. It's a deep dive into human behavior and the continual search for justice. True crime stories like this underline the critical work of investigators and remind us of the lengths taken to protect safety and justice. Chris and Shanann Watts investigated to have it all: a wonderful home, two adorable girls, and a newborn on the way. Shanann always highlighted their perfect existence on social media. Chris, working for Anadarko Petroleum, appeared to be a dedicated husband and father. However, behind the facade, the family experienced serious hardships. In 2015, they declared bankruptcy due to increasing financial obligations. Despite financial difficulties, Shanann maintained an attractive image online. On August 13, 2018, this illusion collapsed when Shanann returned from a business trip, and Chris reported her and their girls missing, starting a thorough investigation. What could have led to the surprising and mysterious disappearance of Shanann Watts and her two younger daughters within the early hours of August 13, 2018? Let's delve into the chilling occasions that unfolded in Frederick, Colorado. In the early hours of August 13, 2018, Shanann returned home from a trip to Arizona. Chris stated they battled about separating. Later, he reported Shanann and their girls missing. Chris contacted Shanann's friend Nicole Atkinson, expressing concern over Shanann's unresponsiveness and missed doctor's visit. Alarmed, Nicole called the police for a welfare check. Police located Shanann's car at home with everything she had inside, but no sign of her or the girls. Chris's explanation about Shanann sending the kids to a friend's house didn't add up, raising issues. What did the investigation uncover about Chris Watts' involvement in the disappearance of his family? Let's delve into the crucial moments that led to the shocking revelations. As suspicions around Chris developed, detectives from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation and the FBI got involved. They uncovered images of Chris's co-worker, Nichol Kessinger, revealing an affair. Chris agreed to a polygraph test, which he failed. Confronted, he confessed to killing Shanann but initially lied about the girls. Eventually, he admitted the complete truth. Shanann's body was buried in a small grave near Chris's job site, and Bella and Celeste were recovered in oil tanks. This breakthrough supplied the evidence needed to charge Chris with multiple crimes. What were the legal repercussions for Chris Watts following his heinous crimes? Let's explore the intense court sessions and the final verdict that shocked the nation. On November 6, 2018, Chris Watts pleaded guilty to all contributes to avoid the death penalty, avoiding Shanann's family a lengthy trial. The court sessions were powerful, with Shanann's relatives expressing their sadness and anger. Shanann's father, Frankie Rzucek, identified Chris a soulless monster. On November 19th, Chris received 5 life sentences without parole, 3 served consecutively, 2 concurrently, plus 48 years for Shanann's pregnancy and 36 for tampering with bodies. The verdict gave closure, with widespread media attention, revealing the severity of Chris Watts' betrayal. What was the aftermath of Chris Watts' horrific actions, and how did it affect the community and those closest to the victims? Let's delve into the far-reaching consequences and the search for healing and justice. The impact of Chris Watts' crimes was significant, touching everyone from Shanann's destroyed family to the shocked Frederick community. The once beautiful Watts family house became a miserable reminder of the tragedy. The community supported Shanann's family through vigils and memorials, supporting their healing. Nichol Kessinger faced public scrutiny and went into hiding. Chris's prison confession revealed disturbing information, promoting domestic abuse awareness. Advocacy groups utilized the story to educate about seeking help and intervention. Law enforcement stressed multiple methods in addressing difficult situations. The Watts family killings remain a case study in the darkness behind closed doors and the search of justice and community support. How did Chris Watts transform from a seemingly loving father to a cold-blooded killer? Let's uncover the disturbing changes and final acts that led to this tragic outcome. Chris's transformation and final acts. Chris Watts' physical and emotional makeover expressed his behavioral changes. He grew detached and chilly, focusing on his affair with Nichol Kessinger. Shanann saw his unusual conduct during a family trip and suspected an affair, but rejected it. Chris confirmed he wanted a divorce and deactivated his Facebook account. The night before their trip to Colorado, he told Shanann he didn't want his third kid hurting her. Shanann uncovered a $60 restaurant charge, exposing Chris's infidelity, confirming her suspicions. Chris brought the girls to a birthday party and texted a co-worker to assure he would be alone at work the next morning. He spent 111 minutes on a call with Kessinger that night. Despite claiming a fit of anger, Chris had planned the killings for weeks, knowing what he would do when he put his girls to bed, converting from a loving father to a cold-blooded killer. What horrifying events unfolded on the morning of August 13, 2018? Let's delve into the tragic and chilling actions that took place. On August 13, 2018, Chris collapsed his girls with pillows before returning to argue with Shanann about his affair and desire for a separation. Shanann, upset, told him he would never see the kids again if he left. Fueled by anger, Chris strangled her. Bella and Cece woke up and looked into what was wrong with Mommy. Chris felt no desire to comfort them. He fought to get Shanann's body down the steps, with Bella and Cece following. Chris drove to the oil site with his family's bodies, smothered Cece with her blanket, and put her into an oil tank. Bella, afraid, wondered whether he would do the same to her. Chris strangled her and forced her into a second oil tank. He dug a small grave for Shanann, feeling relieved, believing he was free to be with Nichol Kessinger. How did the investigation lead to the arrest and further confession of Chris Watts? Let's uncover the crucial moments that exposed his horrifying actions. After the murders, Chris made multiple calls to hide his tracks, informing the girls' school they would no longer attend and making excuses to his co-workers. Nicole Atkinson, stressed for Shanann, tried to enter into the Watts home and contacted the police. Chris went home to discover officers and friends searching for his family. He said Shanann and the daughters were at a friend's house, but inconsistencies encouraged suspicions. Police checked his neighbor's CCTV tape showing Chris backing his truck into the garage early that morning. This film, along with Chris's nervous manner during questioning, further incriminated him. On August 15, 2018, after failing a polygraph test, Chris admitted to killing Shanann but continued to claim she killed the girls. Eventually, he understood to all three murders, disclosing horrifying details. The finding of the victims confirmed his confession, with Shanann's body found in a shallow grave and the girls in separate oil tanks. Chris Watts was arrested and charged with many counts of first-degree murder, wrongful termination of a pregnancy, and tampering with deceased bodies. How did the public and media react to the shocking revelations of the Chris Watts case? Let's explore the intense scrutiny and widespread coverage that followed. The Chris Watts case soon received national and international interest. The media documented every development, from the first disappearance to the startling confessions in the judicial proceedings. True crime fans and the general public became drawn to the narrative, attempting to comprehend how a seemingly perfect husband and father could conduct such horrible deeds. News channels and social media were overflowing with discussions regarding the case. Many expressed their shock and disbelief, while others dived into understanding Chris's behavior and the various causes behind his acts. Shanann's social media posts were investigated, and the sharp contrast between her online portrayal of a happy family life and the terrible reality became a key component of the narrative. What was Nichol Kessinger's role in the Chris Watts case, and how did the public react to her involvement? Let's uncover the scrutiny and speculation surrounding her actions. Nichol Kessinger, Chris's mistress, also faced significant public scrutiny. Although she cooperated with the inquiry and was not charged with any crime, many questioned her involvement and whether she knew more than she stated. Kessinger went into hiding to escape the constant scrutiny from the media and public criticism. Her relationship with Chris, the time frame of their affair, and her conduct during the investigation were reviewed in detail. The public's concern with Kessinger's role in the tragedy reflected a greater curiosity about how such a horrible crime might unfold. How did the tragic events surrounding the Watts family affect their community and loved ones? Let's explore the profound impact and the collective efforts to heal and remember. The Watts family house, once a symbol of a beautiful residential life, became a chilling memory of the tragedy. Neighbors and neighborhood members struggled to reconcile the nice family they thought they knew with the terrible incidents that transpired. The Rzucek family, Shanann's parents, were public about their grief and the impact of the murder on their life. They received a wave of understanding from the public, which helped them cope with their terrible tragedy. The community went to vigils and built memorials to memorialize Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and the unborn Nico, creating a sense of solidarity and support for the grieving family. What lessons and awareness emerged from the tragic Watts case? Let's delve into the critical insights and increased vigilance against domestic violence. The Watts case drew increased awareness to the indications of domestic violence and the possibility for concealed hazards in seemingly regular relationships. Advocacy groups utilized the case to educate the public about the necessity of getting aid and responding when someone is in danger. Law enforcement agencies commented on the lessons learned from the investigation. The cooperation between local police, the CBI, and the FBI was important in identifying the case and bringing Chris to justice. The thorough effort of the detectives, including forensic analysis, digital evidence, and interrogation tactics, underscored the intricacy and attention involved in solving such murders. What is life like for Chris Watts behind bars? And how has his imprisonment affected those closest to him? Let's explore his time in prison and the ongoing impact of his crimes. Chris Watts will spend the duration of his life in prison, serving 5 years for life without any possibility of parole. His life behind prison is marked by isolation and an endless reminder of his actions. In letters from prison, Chris has professed regret and sought forgiveness, but his confessions indicated a disturbing detachment from the seriousness of his crimes. His parents, despite their initial defense of their son, have had to come to terms with the truth of his deeds. The conflict between Chris's family and Shanann's family remains, showing the deep scars left by the tragedy. How did the Chris Watts case shape the landscape of true crime television and media? Let's explore the profound impact and the ethical debates it sparked. True crime media has been greatly influenced by the Chris Watts case, with books, podcasts, and movies devoted to examining every facet of the catastrophe. In order to give a thorough description of the events, Shanann's social media posts, police body cam footage, and text messages were used in the documentary American Murder: The Family Next Door, which was distributed by Netflix. The popularity of real crime stories is rising, and this documentary and others have helped to fuel that enthusiasm. The case has spurred debates over the morality of real crime reporting. Some contend that these kinds of tales serve to increase awareness and stop catastrophes in the future, but others feel they may be exploitative and callous to the relatives of the victims. In particular, the Watts case has brought up concerns about the impact of public scrutiny on bereaved families and the appropriate amount of personal information to release. How did the Chris Watts case influence the true crime genre and spark debates on journalistic ethics? Let's delve into its impact on reality crime media and the ongoing discussions it has generated. The true crime genre has been tremendously touched by the Chris Watts case, with various books, podcasts, and documentaries covering every facet of the tragedy. The incidents were documented in depth in the documentary American Murder: The Family Next Door, which was released on Netflix. It used Shanann's social media posts, police body camera footage, and text conversations. The popularity of true crime stories has grown, in part because of documentaries like this one. Talks concerning the morality of true crime journalism have been spurred by this instance. Others think these kinds of stories can be exploitative and inconsiderate to the relatives of the victims, despite the fact many claim they assist increase awareness and stop catastrophes in the future. In particular, the Watts case has sparked debate over the appropriate amount of personal information to divulge and the effects of media attention on bereaved families. What reforms in law and procedure have been prompted by the Chris Watts case? Let's explore the changes being discussed to improve the handling of domestic abuse cases. Possible changes to the way domestic abuse cases are handled have come up for debate as a result of the Chris Watts case's investigation and court processes. in order to identify the warning indications of coercive control and domestic violence. Some have asked for law enforcement personnel to receive improved training. Others push for more robust victim support networks that provide victims with quicker access to legal and counseling services. The case has also highlighted how crucial digital evidence is to contemporary investigations. Finding the truth required analyzing security footage, social media posts, and text messages. In an effort to help solve complicated cases, law enforcement organizations are concentrating more and more on digital forensics and creating new methods and tools in this area. How have the families of Shanann and Chris Watts coped with the aftermath of this tragedy? And what persistent struggles do they face? Let's explore their ongoing reactions and challenges. The consequences of the tragedy is still being dealt with by Shanann's family. They have spoken out against domestic abuse, taking part in campaigns and speaking engagements in honor of Shanann and her kids. Their advocacy efforts and tenacity have served as an inspiration to millions, transforming their suffering into a catalyst for progress. Conversely, Chris's family has experienced hardships of their own. At first, everyone stood up for Chris because they couldn't believe he could do such things. They have had to deal with his remorse over time, negotiating the difficult feelings of betrayal, grief, and public scrutiny. Both families have long-lasting wounds from the case and poor relationships. How have Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and unborn Nico been remembered and honored after their tragic loss? Let's explore the memorials and tributes that celebrate their lives. The killings of the Chris Watts family are a terrifying reminder of the risks that lurk behind closed doors. Frederick, Colorado, and many who followed the case were forever changed. Shanann Watts is respected for her bright nature and strong commitment to her family. Her family encouraged victims and raised awareness of domestic abuse as a way to deal with their grief. Events held in the community provide forums for grieving and healing. Recovery was significantly helped by public support, which included contributions to organizations that fight domestic abuse. These days, early detection of domestic abuse is given prominence in educational programs. The case is an essential educational resource for appreciating familial homicide and domestic abuse. Debatable topics included the ethics of reporting genuine crime in light of the extensive media coverage. Respect for victims is balanced with the public interest in responsible journalism. Research in the fields of sociology, psychology, and criminology has benefited from the Watts case. The necessity of ongoing awareness raising and assistance for victims of domestic abuse is highlighted by its global impact. The memory of the Watts family demands that society guarantee victims' rights, stop needless violence, and provide justice. That being stated, I want to thank you for watching and see you later.
If you found this story moving and insightful, please hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your support helps us create more content that delves deep into human experiences and the lessons they offer. Stay connected for more stories that matter.